The time is now 7:20. Good evening and welcome to the April 13th, 2026 Strategic Realignment Focus Work Group meeting. I'm Zakia Goins-McCants, Committee Co-Chair and District 8 Board of Education member, and it brings me great pleasure to welcome everyone to today's meeting. For those unable to observe now, this meeting will be recorded and can be watched on the PGCPS YouTube channel at a later point. The agenda and documents that we are reviewing can be found on our Diligent page, linked from the Board of Education website. And thank you all so much for committing to this important oversight and partnership work. Ms. McMillan, are we skipping the official roll call again tonight?
Yes.
Wonderful. So there are 2 items for discussion this evening. After each item, if questions are necessary, we will have about 2.5 minutes for each member per round. So at this point, the co-chair recognizes Dr. Judith White for the Academic Program Expenditures and Specialty Programs Review presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I am joined this evening with my Director of Specialty Programs in the Arts, Dezanne Manzano-Lee, and my Coordinating Supervisor of Specialty Programs, Lori Armfield. We're going to just walk you through just some context about specialty programs, locations that we have in our district application process, talk a little bit about enrollment, and then discuss where we are with the programs that we discussed this year and budget implications. And then at the end, we will gladly open up for any questions that we may have. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over first to Ms. Manzano-Lee.
Thank you, Dr. White. Good evening, everyone. So our specialty programs provide an expansion of our curricular options for students in pre-K through 12 by providing them with a unique learning opportunity to become immersed in a specialized area that they are passionate about. And the following slides for you have the name of the specialty program as well as the location from pre-K through 8. This next slide outlines where our high school specialty programs are. Our pre-K through 8 specialty programs are accessible via the lottery, while our high school specialty programs have a variety of pathways to for a student to gain entrance. All of our students in 8th grade are considered for our aerospace program, as well as our science and technology program. All other programs either include an application, and our VPA programs also include an audition process. Our CTE or Career and Technical Education programs offer nearly 40 different programs along 12 different career pathways, which are industry endorsed and approved by the Maryland State Department of Education. So our application cycle. So the application cycle of specialty programs is truly ongoing. And so we've created a timeline for you. You'll see that in August, the application window goes live for non-PGCPS students, as well as 9th grade PGCPS students who are interested in applying for our AEAT, which is aerospace, and our science and technology program. Following that August launch, our applications go live in fall for a variety of specialty programs, which include all of our high school programs. We then have our annual pre-K through 12 fall specialty program showcase. We spend the winter months immersed in auditions for VPA, as well as identifying students who are eligible for our programs. And then in spring, we publish our notifications to our students and our families. The next slide includes our high school application trend data, and you'll see that our applications at our high school level continues to trend upwards, with our families and our students very interested in the options that we have at the high school level. Now I want to take a look at our enrollment data. And so you can take a deep dive later on, but once again, our numbers continue to trend upward. We have a slight dip in our online program and our immersion programs. Our talented and gifted program continues to remain strong, and our Montessori program continues to remain strong in terms of applications. At the high school level, our science and tech and AEAT has the largest group of students. Our PSEC numbers are trending upwards, as well as our AHS and AEAT numbers. So we'll turn it over now. We're going to go into our funding realignment. Oh, I'm sorry. And our CTE program enrollment continues to soar. And so we're really pleased about that. As we look at school utilization, we've got some data for you on our fill rates. And you'll see that at the immersion level, we have 51% unfilled at Maya Angelou, 55% at Overlook, 44 at Phyllis C. Williams, and 60% unfilled seats at Largo High School. As it relates to IB, 42% of our seats remain unfilled at Laurel High School, 54% at Parkdale. And as we look at talented and gifted, Valley View is hovering at about 41%. When we look at our high school, another high school specialty program for visual and performing arts, 41% of our seats remain unfilled at Northwestern, and 50% remain unfilled at Suitland for this current school year.
Dezanne, can you go back for a second to that slide? I just want to talk through this for a second. So it's important for you all to understand when we talk immersion, students come in immersion in kindergarten. So after kindergarten, if they many things happen. They test for tag, parents choose other options. If a student leaves an immersion program or a Montessori program, another student can't come into that program unless they test in or have been in a certified Montessori program. So what you'll see in those programs is that seats end up getting smaller. The class might start full, but as they matriculate through, they end up losing students. Also, when you look at talented and gifted, probably about 10 years ago, we have a suite in the South where a brand new tag center was opened and it split a boundary. And ever since that boundary was split, three schools that were impacted, they've never been filled with students. The other thing is we want to pay attention to our side are the policies that drive how we fill those tag seats so that we can try to look at different things going into next year and filling them. And what I would just add about visual and performing arts, remember at one point in time, Suitland was the only visual and performing arts high school we had. When Suitland was the only high school we had for the entire district, it was always filled. Northwestern opened up maybe a couple of years before the pandemic, then the pandemic hit, and since then we have not recouped coming back in. However, entering into next year, every seat that we have for the incoming ninth graders we're almost at capacity. So I just wanted to give a little background because when you see those numbers, that could look startling, but to explain a little bit about why that happens. Thank you, Dezanne.
No problem. And I want to say that what we attribute to the increase in interest and increase in improving the fill seat in our numbers has been really intentional marketing to our families across the district. Turning it over to you, Dr. White, for funding.
Sure. So here, I just want to kind of walk through this budget cycle that we went in. As a part of the Division of Academics, well, all of us, and you all know that we were charged to really look at what we can renew, how we can accelerate, what we could strengthen, and what we could reevaluate. So as a part of my process as the Chief Academic Officer, I took a big lens across my whole division. If you go to the next slide, one of the things and ways that I do that is monthly, I check all of funding for my entire division. My division is comprised of about 6 teams ranging from early childhood, curriculum and instruction, career and technical education, special education, specialty programs, and the arts. I know I'm leaving somebody out.
Early
learning. So it's huge. But one of the things that I do is I look at our budget every single month and I follow funds. And so when we had to go in and make a decision to cut $12 million, which is what my division was responsible for, I started by looking over the last couple of years when I started getting to February, March, and April to see where we started spending down really quick. And so just really thinking through. So if we have funds at that time we're not spending, then realistically, can those funds be used for other uses because we're not spending it at the beginning of the year? So we had to make some tough decisions on this slide, which you'll see, and I've presented this several times to the board already, are the programmatic changes I made in terms of discretionary dollars as well as the impacts. I also took this as a moment to partner with other chiefs to say how we could align work and how we could work together to eliminate duplicative efforts across the entire system. So then when you go to the next slide, I then also, as a part of my role and responsibility, is to really look at the specialty programs that we have. Where are we successful? Where are we, when we talk about low enrollment or we talk about the amount of funds we're spending and the return on investment? So one of the things for this group to know is that we believe in every program that we have. There's not a single program that we had that we didn't believe in. We might have just thought that we could approach it differently. So in our district, the majority of our immersion programs are application based. However, we have two programs, Paint Branch and Capitol Heights, that are boundary based. Those two programs actually cost the system more money than the programs that are immersion that are application based. Part of that reason is we need double the staff because you have students that are in their home boundary school and could drop in at any single grade. So you're trying to staff it for a fourth grader that might come, get dropped into language, not having any. And you want to build around the supports. So this is just shows like what we had and what we've chosen as of how to address it. I also had international baccalaureate that we 100% believe in, that we are proposing to maintain our high school program. However, at the primary years and the middle years, I felt that it was more about how do you establish culture? How do you establish the skills and dispositions in students? How do you provide them with tasks to keep them engaged and put rigor in front of them? All of those things that I discussed in our primary years and our middle years for IB, our staff creates. They are already in our curriculum and we create those experiences. We do not get into IB curriculum until our high school years. So when you go to the next slide, we'll talk about AVID. So AVID also was a program that we had in about 23 of our middle schools. It was an elective course. It is a course that should be used to look for students who are first gen in their family to think about college, to think about the opportunity for college. It is where they go in, they explore, they're understanding and learning, they're building their study skills, and just how do you mold them to put the right structures and processes in place to propel them out for college and career readiness. However, in our district, and this is what I mean by duplication, with Employ Prince George's, we have an opportunity to have career coaches in every middle and high school. Those career coaches are not about a subset of students that we would touch, but realistically are for every middle and high school student that we have in our district. So we thought that that would have been money we could save because now we could touch every single student. When you go to the next slide, this is just where I just wanted to show you the AVID enrollment. And so let's look at the first school, Charles Carroll. So when I say now I can touch every student in Charles Carroll, with the AVID teacher, they were only touching 49 students. So that's an example of how we look at the data and realize, how we can get the biggest bang for our buck and save money, but never cheat children an opportunity. So let's talk about AVID. What we're saving, and when you're always going to look to see the fiscal year 2027, you're going to see an increase because what we all know is that salaries go up. So in this school year, it's costing us for those 23 positions about 2.5 million. Next year, if we would have maintained it, it was 2.8. So I am saving that back to the district by moving that out and by making sure that every school has a career coach. So immersion. In the immersion boundary, those two schools that I mentioned, Paint Branch and Capitol Heights, what we chose to do and put forth as a proposal would be to change that model from an equity lens of immersion to more of a world language program. And when I say that, if I were to start a world language program in any school next year that was not an immersion, you can start it very, very basic. You're going to start it by teaching really language around colors and numbers and just teaching them about the culture of a country. When you've had students who have been immersed into an immersion program, then the world language program that we will be building for those two schools will be more in depth, more rigorous. It will be more challenging for students, and it will be something that's actually tailor-made to these two schools. So, seal by literacy, I just wanted to kind of give you some data. So, in our district in the state of Maryland, actually, students have the ability to leave our system with a seal of biliteracy. So they are have tested and proven themselves to be biliterate in more than just English. It is actually another language. This just shows you the students that we have that have graduated from our French, Spanish, and Chinese program. So if you notice, um, you look at our graduating seniors across that are in our immersion programs, this is what our trend is. You'll notice that more are graduating with French than Spanish and Chinese. So let's talk about some transition data because I think this is very relevant to understand in immersion. I chose to pull back or eliminate actually phase out transition our Largo High School. And I'm going to talk about some data points that get us there. So Largo is the final stop for all of our immersion students. So our two programs are a French immersion. When they get to high school, they come to Largo. Our Spanish immersion programs, they train our elementaries transition into Kettering if you choose. And from Kettering, you can go to Largo for Spanish for high school. Our Chinese program was going through Paint Branch, which then led to Greenbelt Middle School, and then to Largo High School. So on this slide, when you look at Paint Branch, which should be transitioning from Paint Branch to elementary, look from 2020 through 2025. And if you look at the percentages, these percentages, while students are in that Chinese program, when they go to Greenbelt, they're not choosing to go to Greenbelt. They're choosing to go to their boundary. So when you look at the next slide, this one is our students transitioning from Capitol Heights to Kettering Middle School. Look at the percentages from 2020 through 2025. The number of students that are choosing to now go to the Spanish Immersion Middle School. So then when you get to the next slide, here are our students going from Kettering, Dora Kennedy, and Maya Angelou, which are our middle school programs, to Largo High School. And so one of the reasons that I'm transitioning Largo out is that every student in Largo High School now, we will complete their programming. We will allow them to stay. However, we will not have any new ninth graders entering in. For Chinese, right now, we only have about 5 students there altogether. And I'm going to show you some rates on when we think about what that means in terms of the whole, because we should be able to be at 300 students at Largo, and right now we're at 120. So when you think about the amount of staff I have that we're paying for, but there are no students in the seats. So when you go to the next slide, here are the staffing costs for Chinese. For Paint Branch by themselves, it's 1.7 million, which next year would have been 1.8. Greenbelt Middle School is 352,000. Next year would have been 534. And Largo for this year, which is 19th and 11th grade only, it would be 286,000. The reason it's going down instead of going up is because remember I said I'm not bringing in 12th grade, which would have brought in 3 new teachers. Instead, I'm actually eliminating teachers out of that building. The Spanish immersion cost. So when you look at Capitol Heights, and remember we said that that school is staffed higher than some of our other schools, and it is the smallest school that we have, only 1 class per grade. So on this slide, you can look at the different costs. So we have some of our immersion programs that the entire building is immersion. You are application based. They cost less than it does to run Capitol Heights, which is our smallest program. And then here are the costs for our French immersion, which we're not touching our French immersion in the elementary and middle. These are our costs for our French immersion. And I just giving you this. You will have an opportunity to go back and look at these numbers, but I just wanted you to have a sense of what we pay for. Now, all of the funds that I'm showing you are staff only. It does not take into account any dollar that we put towards programming that's coming out of central office.
Dr. White, would you like to also highlight that Central High School phase out for French?
Sure. So Central High School, not as a part of this budget presentation that we did this year. 3 years ago, we made a decision to phase out Central High School based on the number of students that was coming to Central High School. And so this is our last culminating year at Central High School. Thank you for that. So for International Baccalaureate, we've already kind of talked about the changes here. I mentioned earlier that we believe that we can run an IB model. We're already starting to talk to those schools, and we're already looking at um, pulling all of the things that we have created into one spot. I have an IB specialist and supervisor in the district that will work with our schools where we are eliminating these programs to ensure that the principal can sustain the parts of the program that are built around the culture in a building. And again, remember, our high school program remains unchanged. Any school that has a high school diploma based program will remain unchanged. And so I've already talked about the middle years program as well. But I just wanted to kind of give you a look at our IB programs should be completing the culminating activities at certain grades. Here's the percentage of students that are completing these programs. So when you've listened to board members or board meetings and you've heard families get up and they talk about IB, but when you look here, these are our middle schools and our elementary, you don't even see 100% of our students completing these projects. So I just wanted to kind of show you what that looks like on the screen. French immersion is not in the type of program that would have these. That's why they're blank. I don't want you to think that they didn't do anything. Their program model, they did not have to do this as they weren't in that phase of accreditation yet. And so here's our IB diploma trend, which I also think is a relevant thing to look at. So in all of the years here that you will see from 2016 to 2025, here are the number of students that have graduated with the complete IB diploma. Now, you could look and say, wow, all the students that we have, but this is how many. But what I would also say is that as a district, we value a student to take a rigorous course, take an exam, and pass that exam. So we have students that are earning exam scores that can earn them college credits, even though they do not have the diploma. I'm just simply showing you, though, the amount of students that go through the completion of a diploma. And so here's our staffing costs for International Baccalaureate. So when you look at our middle schools, so you see Dwight D. Eisenhower, that's how much we will be saving when we're transitioning out of Central. When you see James Madison, Maya Angelou, and Melwood, those are the saving costs that we would have going into next year. And so with that, I open it up for any questions, if that is appropriate, Board Member Goins McCants at this time.
It is. Thank you so much, Dr. White. Okay, committee members, if we have our questions, if you could hit the button to raise your hand, I can see you all that way, or we will start with, I can't see exactly who this is, but you've got a bison picture and it says KH.
Hi, it's Camila.
Thank you.
How you doing? Um, Thank you for that presentation, Dr. White. My question is related to the IB program. My question is, in the decision to cancel the IB program, I understand that there are only a certain number of students who have completed the IB diploma, but was there any comprehensive study done over these years since, I guess, 2016 to assess the success level of the students overall? And I note that you already mentioned that some of those students are taking college credit classes, but overall, as compared to other students who have not matriculated through the IB programs, did you all do any comprehensive studying on those programs? And also separately on the immersion programs before making the decisions just to.
Sure. So what I would lead in first is that we did not cancel our IB program based on our graduation rate. Again, I like to come and just share data as it stands. Again, we believe in our IB program. That's why we have maintained the integrity of our high school programs. What we decided as a system that we could move away from is our elementary program and our middle years program, because what we found is that Melwood and Frederick Douglass, when you look at the scope, it goes from Melwood, it goes to James Madison into Douglass. Coming from James Madison, you still did not have a lot of students that chose IB when they arrived. When you look at that trajectory, you would assume possibly one could that you have students starting so young that they're exposed to the culture, they're exposed to the language, they're exposed to the dispositions, the belief that we have efficacy, the level of rigor. Those schools create in-house along with our department the tasks that IB wants them to engage in. So by us just pulling away the accreditation, the naming convention didn't change what can go before those students. We as a system own every last one of those tasks, and our job will be to work with those schools to maintain what that can look like in a building that we actually run. So for IB, it wasn't about getting on the other side and looking at the diploma. It was more so about they're already in our curriculum. There was no funds that we were spending on curriculum for those programs because they're in ours. In terms of immersion, again, we believe in immersion. It's just that those two models started as a grant. And when the grant ended, our system took those models on and we tried different ways to make them work. But what we found is that those students were not matriculating even to complete the through line versus a parent who's applying to an immersion program. Most of those schools have parents that filter through. Those two programs did not. And so those are the data points that we looked at. And so that's why we decided, well, what can we still put in those schools so that those students have access to some language? And that's why our first proposal was to create a world language model in those buildings.
And Dr. White, if I could also add that the IB program at the high school is not going away. The students at James Madison will have the same opportunity that a student at Stephen Decatur would have, should they be interested in IB at the high school level, to apply as an 8th grader for IB. So every single 8th grader in our district who is interested in the IB has the same opportunity.
Thank you both so much. Dr. Moss, was your hand raised?
Oh no, we've got other participants. I wanted I'll get back to Dr. White. I wanted to clarify something, but let's get the other participants.
Dr. Cabrera.
Good evening, everyone. So my question is, what conditions or data will need to change for the district to remind the immersion program at Largo High School? Because we're not saying that the program is not impactful, that it's not working. It is working. The students are successful in what they're doing. It's just about enrollment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our enrollment is being stable, is having decreased. Also, I want to add that we are basically a brand new program. We haven't graduated our first class. So we're building our reputation. We're showing what the students can do at Largo High School. So what could be the options to remind the program open? We don't need to increase the staff. I am the academic dean at Largo High School. I can guarantee that I can work with 6 teachers. So it doesn't have to double up to 12 teachers. What other options, what we can do to remind the program open?
Sure. So I just want to provide some context and thank you for that. And actually, thank you for your service in that program. You've done an amazing job. Oftentimes, we also deal with our negotiated agreements, our contracts on how many preps teachers can have. And so you have to take all of those things into consideration. So while I know you could work with 6 teachers, I wouldn't be able to allow you to work with 6 teachers based on what we have in the contract. I would say Prince George's County is in a very unique position because we have so many opportunities when students get to high school. Immersion at kindergarten is something that a parent chooses for a child. When students start getting into middle school, children start saying what they're interested in, and they have passions. They have STEM and just all the different opportunities. And so when they have the ability to now fill out applications and choose, we have so many options that we just are not seeing the trend that they're choosing to go into immersion at the high school level. Again, for the students that are there, it's great. So if the superintendent were to come to me and say, what could we do? We could say we could take the enrollment down 100 from 100 students per grade to 25 students per grade. right? Because realistically, we should be at 300 students right now at the in June in our junior year, and we're at 120. Our Spanish students are there the most. Chinese and French are not really attending. So that's how I would answer that.
Mrs. Vickery?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought Miss Sawyer was before me. Is that correct, Miss Sawyer?
No, the way the
Okay, no worries. Dr. White, sorry I'm not on camera. I'm trying to make sure that my kids eat their dinner. It's good to see you this
You
evening and
too.
everyone else. So I have two questions. So I'm just going to do my first one, and if we can come back around for my second one. Um, re Regarding like demand versus enrollment breakdown, it looks like from your data that you're seeing applications increase significantly, but many of the programs still have like that underfill rates. Is there a breakdown anywhere in the pipeline between application acceptance and actual enrollment?
Yep.
And then what are you guys are doing to fix that? And I think you started to hit on that with your last answer when you were speaking about the the choices and opportunities that kids have, right? Like
Yep.
their parents pick for them first and then they come up. But I'm just wondering, do you guys have like any true idea around like that application acceptance and an actual enrollment, and then like
Yeah.
what could be happening?
We actually do, but you have to. So let's just say my child who went through Prince George's County, and she was accepted to almost all the programs she applied to, right? And so if she goes through application, she goes to the lottery and she makes it in. When it comes April 15th, she has to pick one. And so you could see a program have this many. So we do have those numbers that apply. And then we can also tell based on enrollment. And that is the reason that we give our families a hard cutoff on when to apply. Because now you need every program, we need to know where we are. Once we know where we are, if we see open seats, we try to run a separate, if in many cases, a separate lottery, a separate application for an extended period of time to try to fill as many as we can. The other data point, just so you know, I asked for this week that's important for me is when we started, especially in our younger programs, when we started in kindergarten, were they filled? Because that lets me know that when we get to fifth grade that we had kids drop out. The dropout could be because of like again they went to a tag center or they did another program. So then we also can tell where those students went. Did they remain in Prince George's County or did they leave the district? For the most part, they're remaining in the district. They're just sitting in another program. And so those are all the data points we're chasing. But when I get into programs unlike Montessori and immersion, where you have to have some level of context. So, for example, my child was in Montessori in our school. They started field. By the time she matriculated to high school out of eighth grade, they probably had 40 kids in their eighth grade class. And that's because students had gone to so many other programs by the time they finished. And we can't backfill it unless you're Montessori trained at that point in time. But for us, we're going to keep advertising. I think I need to come to the district to say, hey, I have a tag center that I probably need to be asking to close and to shift students to two other buildings, which we know then when we do that, we're back in situations like this because you're trying to get the community to understand the why because we're all possessive over our school. But we have an obligation to look at those things. And so I'll grab some of that data and share it with this team if that would be helpful.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. And if we could, when we raise our hands, like if we raise our hands and put them down, it reshuffles the order. And so it gets out of order. Ms. Sawyer.
Hi, thank you so much. This is great information. I'm still trying to absorb it all. And what I was remembering from the earlier discussions about the budget was that there was agreement that for at least a couple of the schools, Capitol Heights being one, that instead of using it as a boundary school, we were going to look into having it be opened as a lottery program, since half the school is the Spanish immersion as boundary and half the school is tag. I know my daughter's at Capitol Heights, and in her second grade classrooms, there's one class of 12 kids and one class of 13 kids. We're coming from much further north. So the schools that are geographically closer, Cesar Chavez, I believe, is over enrolled. And Glenarden Woods is absolutely over enrolled. So I thought part of it was giving some of those students who don't have a spot in either of those schools a chance to come down to Capitol Heights and fill out the program. Am I misremembering that?
So you mentioned two things, so I'll separate them. So the
Sure.
first one is you're absolutely correct. I came with an original proposal to change those schools to world language. We came back with a second proposal to potentially do an in-house lottery. When the Board of Education passed their budget, they passed my first proposal until this 90-day work group would conclude, and at that point we would know which way we would move. Earlier in this presentation, I mentioned that we have some policies that actually hinder us, and I'll give you an example. So we have in a pupil accounting administrative procedure that says, so Akakik is a school that's always filled to capacity, but you have people on a wait list. But if you can't come to Capitol Heights because you're on a wait list because it indicates that you can't move. I think for me, if we can fill seats because parents want to transport their student to another school, then we should open seats. And so that's one of the policies that collectively Dr. Strader's team and my team are looking at is that what policies do we have in place that's hindering our own process to fill our seats? And so a lot of that is because we'll have a parent that'll come and then all of a sudden and then they'll try to bounce back and you have a lot of where you're trying to chase where kids are. But at the end of the day, you want seats filled and you want children to have the opportunities, especially when we're funding those opportunities. So hopefully that answered your question. I think boundaries is something that we have to look at overall. Can we push down to the south? Can we close one of our schools and combine students? And I think we have to look at that also in immersion as well.
Yeah, but I think that the transportation costs in the all of the programs are so high. It's
Correct.
kind of mind-blowing. Are there other schools other than Capitol Heights that have multiple programs in the same building?
There are,
Because
and
and are these numbers like is Capitol Heights when you're talking about those numbers, does that include the tag program? Is it the whole school? I'm just wondering, I wasn't able to see that in the budget that I was looking at, so just wondering how that's broken down
yeah,
with
so when I
the
did one of my presentations earlier to the Board of Education, I tried to separate them and I tried to go to the board and say, so remember Capitol Heights, and this is all made up right now. Let's say they have 300 students total. I tried to bring data specifically on what's tag and what's immersion because I want everyone to have a clear understanding that tag is one grade at every level and the comprehensive is one grade at every level. Tag classrooms stay smaller and then the comprehensive is at capacity to whatever comes into that boundary. So we look at that data. I look at that data in isolation. I have to. It is not the only building where we have multiple programs that live. And I'm sure when we talk about blueprint funds and funds coming into the system. I'm sure Chief Howe talked about the implications that we have of buildings that have multiple programs in them in terms of where it looks like they should be staffed and the amount of money that's being hit on the capacity of that building.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. Ms. Johnson?
Good evening. I just wanted to say I'm grateful for the presentation tonight from Dr. White. I wanted to ask a question about Avid. With the dissolution of Avid, I wanted to know how many career coaches would be purchased and what is the vision for the career coach to be utilized or split
Sure.
among schools?
So,
That's what I wanted to ask.
sure, and thank you for that question. So, that one slide I mentioned where you'll see Avid, it kind of shows all the students that are being touched by Avid. And so for career coaches, when I'm working with Employ Prince George's and then my staff, my college and career ready staff right now, is that they're actually going into interviews this week. Every middle and high school should have a coach. I'm also pushing that we get to a threshold in our high schools when you get to a certain number that they should have more than one. What I would like to see in this role going into next year is I want to be able to say to a parent, every sixth grader is going to have this touch, every seventh grader will have this touch, and every eighth grader will have this touch. I want to likewise be able to do the same thing at ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then anything above that was bonus, but we would at least be able to say that every ninth grader in our system did resume writing, or every ninth grader in our system used their school links to identify what their passion is and to pick 3 careers they want to chase through. So I think the more clear we can be with that and share with parents their children's talents and for kids to understand that, then we can build a solid program around that every student, because our superintendent has said it's not just about college, right? We want them to be college and career, but if they want to be an entrepreneur, if they want to go into the military, we want all of those options available for them.
Thank you.
Ms. Vickery?
Thank you. Second round, Dr. White.
No problem.
Just wanted to kind of know, are you guys seeing any data that I don't have a better way to say this, but I guess less desirable reasons about why they're choosing to not follow that path. And there's a break in that path line between elementary and middle school. Are we seeing it like transportation challenges? Are we talking about programmatic quality issues, lack of support? And what I'm really interested in about just having myself having two kids in two different specialty pathways myself is like just not maybe understanding the program itself, right? You apply as a parent, you get in and you're like, oh, well, damn, I didn't even know it was like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
to keep it real, Dr. Moss is shaking his head because he knows he gets the text from me. So this um, member
Yeah.
going to camp. So just wondering, is that some of the things that you see? Like, what are some of the data points outside of just like this kid has a choice? And
Yes.
very thankful parents are allowing them to have a choice, but are there other things?
Yeah, I do think that we're at a place where we need to find out from our families. I will say this: we used Hanover Research. I want to say a year ago to survey all of our families in all of our specialty programs because I think it's our due diligence to ask parents. Like we could think we're amazing, which we do, but we can always be better, and we always should have opportunities, and we should always be open to the feedback of those who we service. And so our team has gotten some of that feedback. What I wouldn't know, and Desanne and Lori would have to answer me, is did we say, is there anything that would cause you not to transition or matriculate? Now, I do believe that this year, because we're not finished yet, in eighth grade, we could ask a family that, right? What would be your reason? Or if we know that Largo is a potential and not an opportunity, we could ask some questions of our families that said, what was your charge point this year when your child wanted to fill out a specialty program application? What were they saying? Were they still like hungry for immersion, or did they start speaking to you in seventh grade about different opportunities? So, and I think honestly, my team is working on a campaign right now that says seventh grade matters because we really got to start this conversation in sixth grade with sixth grade families to get them ready for seventh grade because in our school system, that seventh grade report card, all 4 quarters, and that eighth grade report card combined is what's used for the application. And so we can't wait till kids get in seventh and eighth grade to talk to our families. We really have to start that campaign in fifth and sixth. So my team is gearing up for that as we go into next year because we do need to hear our parents' voices and our kids on what it is and what's driving them.
Thank you, Dr. White. Just off the top of my head, we did ask a question in that vein, and a lot of the we also had, just for the committee to be aware of, we also engaged in focus groups with specialty program alumni, and a number of those students said that a big factor them was their parents said, "You're going to science and tech." Your parents said, "You're going to Academy of Health Sciences. You're going to earn that associate's degree," even though that's not the path that they would have chosen for themselves. We also know that like Dr. White said, we have a great amount of choice. And so some of our students get accepted to every single program. And it just comes down to making a choice, even if the student is the one choosing, that they want to try something new. And so those are all factors that relate to why sometimes there's a decline in not following that pathway through 12th grade.
I would encourage you, Dr. White and Miss Lee, that you guys kind of do an additional survey instead of just doing it between that break between seventh and eighth. I would encourage you to do it at the end of pre-K, at the end of K. I'm thinking about those years that when people are moving from tag, from their boundary school to tag. You want to hit that year. You want to hit that fourth grade year. Looking at, I think it was Mr. Strader's documents in his report last time. You have a breakdown around fourth grade, so you might want one around fourth grade, and then you can hit your seventh, your eighth, and your ninth grade. I strongly encourage you guys that the data is pointing you that way.
Sure. Thank you
Thank
for
you
that
so much.
recommendation.
Dr. Moss?
Yeah, I know we're going to transition to subcommittees and get subcommittee charges tonight and some of the work that needs to happen. And all of these data, Jamie and team, Dr. Bowers and team have really organized all of these data points in a way that subcommittees will be able to use them. But there are two things coming to my attention. Amy, saw your comment around the exorbitant amount of transportation costs that it really takes for us to do this and deliver on an equity commitment. has to be explored at some point, right? And as we try to endeavor to do equity and give more kids access, that means it costs more to transport them across the county, and be able to get them to those places. So I appreciate you calling that out. And then the other thing that I want to say that's just kind of hit me in the chest today, is really what's happening with those two boundary programs. I mean, to see two kids go to Kettering Middle School out of that Capitol Heights. I know the assumption is that they're going other places, and if if we yield on the policies, we can kind of do what Amy is talking about around being able to, pull some kids down into this, but it still doesn't serve that feeder of Kettering Middle School, if you will, or if you look up at Paint Branch, it still doesn't serve that feeder of, is it Greenbelt Middle? I think that feeds in that direction. So when we talk about having to make some real decisions around the work that we do, these things come top of mind for me. And I said this in the school board meeting. I really struggle. I think we need these kinds of programs, and which is why I initially supported the world languages model. It's just no longer becoming sustainable to do something that, and if you look at the budget and you see it now, so hopefully we'll have some real recommendations coming out of this. But if nothing else, I mean, this is, opened my eyes up a little bit more to some of the other challenges that we have. I thought I had a somewhat grasp of the challenges that we face with making sure we deliver these excellent programs to young people. But I think in the interest of time, co-chair Goins McCants, Dr. Bowers will come and can kind of lay out where we're going in this work as subcommittees. We got a little work to do in subcommittees, but we are now moving from knowledge, receiving knowledge, to moving over into to our subcommittees. And you'll still be able to get this knowledge, but these were the foundational pieces we thought folks needed before subcommittees. Dr. White, I see your hand is
Sure. I just wanted to add, just so that you know, the new boundary, or the boundary for Paint Branch, is actually Buck Lodge. And for the first time, if the world language goes through, we're going to put a Chinese world language teacher at Buck Lodge so those students could continue language. I just thought it was important to remind you of that. And also, those students leaving Capitol Heights to their middle school, which I believe is Walker Mill, they will have Spanish opportunity for world language, and that's earning the high school credit. The other thing just to keep in mind, as we have to cut, I wanted to try to find ways where I didn't cut things from the entire system. Like, we can't cut interventions for every student in middle school or elementary school that may need them. And so that's why some of these decisions were difficult decisions. That's all. Thank you. And thank you for allowing us to present to you this evening.
I'm sure this group will want you back again. So thank you for coming.
All right, good evening. So I'm going to be quick, so I want us to spend as much time as possible in the breakout groups this evening. So just to ground us and where we're going for the next several weeks, we are still in phase one while we are looking at a comprehensive financial review. That's why we've had some guest speakers come. Chief Howe, Dr. White, Dr. Strader, Dr. Thornton, and share some of our historic context. And that will help prepare us for our financial reviews that we're going to be taking place in our breakouts, as well as the engagement that you're going to be having in each of your breakout rooms. So this evening, we are breaking out to 3 breakout rooms. We have a fiscal review and resource alignment subcommittee. We have a review and sustainability subcommittee. And we have a stakeholder engagement and policy recommendation subcommittee. Each of you have been placed into a subcommittee, and you will be getting an email momentarily that has this document. But each of you have been placed into one of these committees. We have assigned a facilitator to each committee, which is highlighted in green. We've also assigned a subcommittee captain, which is somebody who will help lead and guide the work in the subcommittee. And once you're also in your subcommittee, we ask that you designate a note taker, someone who is comfortable and who is willing and able to take notes for your subcommittee group each of your weeks that you meet in your breakout sessions. We also have a Google folder structure where you will find a blank folder currently, but each of our subcommittees have a Google folder that currently has a notes document, and you are able to put other documents and other resources into your folder as you collect them during your committee work. Just as a reminder, we do have a set of core responsibilities and key deliverables for each of the subcommittees. Your facilitator will share these in more depth this evening when we meet. And this evening, we will go over just our brief core responsibilities this evening and what we hope will be a milestone and an outcome of tonight's subcommittee work. So we have also created for you a Strategic Realignment Committee work resource document. This houses a wide variety of links that you may find useful as you go through your subcommittee and work. Each of these subsections are highlighted with an overall title of what contains the links there within, and then each of these are public-facing links, so you can click on and look at each of these things as you go through your subcommittee work and find that you need more information on each of these key topics. This will also be sent to you in a
Jamie, I don't mean to cut you off. Amy has her hand up, so I'm assuming it's a pertinent question about something you just said. So I want to make sure we answer Amy's question.
Sure.
It is and related to all of this. So I'm not sure if it was ever stated, but is the material that's being shared something that can be shared publicly? Is any of this information material that is confidential? Would anything be marked? If anybody could speak to that, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
None of the work that we get to do as a board can be confidential. All this is public facing and can be used. It is also tracked in our diligence system as well. So we don't have any documents that would be marked confidential. So I just want to make sure I answer that question for you.
And just to be more helpful, all of the presentations that we've seen over the past 3 weeks are also in that top section under work group meeting materials, Amy. So everything that you've seen is able to be public facing and is placed in a link at the top of that. And then finally, so we're going to go into our breakout rooms. We'll have about 20 minutes this evening to start our discussions. And each of your room will have a facilitator that will each get the room started briefly with a few slides. And then we'll have time to get into some of the meeting materials, talk about your core responsibilities and key deliverables for each of your subcommittee groups. And if we don't have any questions, I will stop sharing so we can go ahead and move into our breakout rooms. Thank you.
Micah, do you want to be instructive here and let folks know you've already preset all of this up so they'll just accept? Do you want to give some, and y'all, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege. Can we just all thank Micah in some way, like clapping on screen or something? I mean, we are organized because of her leadership, and I know she was freaking out tonight because the audit committee was still going and we couldn't start on time, but she keeps us organized, and I just want to give appreciations. But Micah, do you want to say anything about the breakout rooms that you spent all day establishing?
Thank you, Dr. Moss. So I'm going to open up the rooms, and it should automatically have you all go to the room that has been designated for you, okay? All right, so I see some have left. You should have been notified or received a notification telling you to go to said rooms.
I didn't get mine, but I don't
receive any yet.
How about you, Dr. Moss? Sorry.
I think I know what happened though. I may be using a different email. If people go in a different email, it'll.
I haven't yet received mine.
I'm being asked for a room code.
All right, I'll move you all one by one. One second.
Good Lord. Bless you.
Huge shout out to Miss McMillan. She was so responsive for me freaking out earlier trying to get into the meeting. She is so awesome. So I just want to publicly give her a shout out as well while we are in transition.
She's the best.
And let me thank, while we're also in transition, let me thank you all for your leadership. Dr. Moss, Dr. McGoins, McCants. Excellent. This has been an excellent process so far.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson. We appreciate you. You actually came up with some board members the other day. We were talking about how brilliant you are. A couple of board members, Dr. Anderful was talking about you serving on PCAC. So we appreciate you being here as well.
Yeah,
And Miss
it's
Jackson Saunders is here. She was part of that conversation. I don't know if y'all see Miss Jackson Saunders is here. She's one of our board members. She's not on.
Thank you. Absolutely. I'm sorry I can't be there with you all. I'm just transitioning from flight. But Mr. Vonson, I want to thank you for serving in your position, and thank you for adding on to the PCAT conversations that we had about the strategic work group.
Oh, well, thank you so much. You represented outstandingly. And when you get a chance, I'd love to have some offline dialogue.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Oh, it's fun. She's taking us away one by one. And I'm going. See you all in a second.
Ms. McMillan, I realize mine is probably under a different email address.
I know that's been the problem for most people here tonight.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm just going one by one. I'm almost there. Sorry about that. Ms. Herndon? Ms. Herndon? Okay, there we go. All right, Ms. Thornton, I didn't assign you a breakout room. It's my understanding you're here for communications purposes, correct?
That is correct. I can hang
Right.
up right here.
So just hang, yep, thank you.
Sure.
You get to hang it first, Megan.
I am glad. I'm tired.
Let me tell you.
Carmen, did you say you had a child that graduated high school? Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Graduated last year.
Awesome. If you don't mind my asking, what high school?
Frederick Douglass,
Frederick
Upper
Douglass.
Marlboro,
Okay.
Maryland. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
He now attends Stevenson University.
Wait, so the principal was Dr. Curry? Okay.
Yes.
He was my former assistant principal when I used to teach at Williamworth Middle School.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
small world. Small world.
Yes, indeed.
Michael, I'll be, hello? Are you hearing me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll be sending you an email because my name, I think there's a document, what was it again, where my name was spelled incorrectly. It's an email that was sent out to the Prince George's community via email. I forgot what is it, Express, PG Express or something, announcing the overall program, what was going on, and who the people, the different people who comprise this committee. And I saw where my name was incorrectly spelled.
Okay, I'll look into that for you. I'm not sure of who wrote that, but I'll look into it and make sure that your name is accurate for any other communications.
Yeah, because it sounds like it's not me.
Okay, understood.
It's
Yes,
too,
ma'am.
yeah, thank you so much for all you
Absolutely.
do.
No problem.
I'm hearing that some of the groups have dismissed. One of the groups has.
We got everybody back?
Yes, they're trickling in now. Give me
All
one
right,
second. Let me check the rooms.
got you.
And Dr. Moss and Miss Vickery, Dr. Strader is here. He said that we did it in 2024, but it hasn't been done since.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Strader.
Everyone is now present.
Nice. So first of all, we hope you had your good intros tonight. Just want to lay out for you, our next meeting will be all subcommittee time. And your subcommittee lead and facilitator should be working to set the agenda for future meetings. When it's time for a larger presentation, we'll bring folks back together, whole group. But the next meeting, we will be on one link and we'll go straight in the subcommittees. We heard you all last time say you don't want to manage your own Zoom links. We also don't want you trying to figure out when to schedule another time. So we're going to make good use of this time. What I will say to you is something the superintendent hinted at a meeting ago. It's going to be really hard to get our work done in 90 days, but we will be able to translate some of your thoughts to the board as it plans to vote on its decision. But of course, our work has implications beyond the FY27 budget too, things that we're going to be uncovering. But I suspect we'll be working past that deadline. But you got board members who are here listening, able to take in information as we vote on that final budget in June. But I would suspect we may be going a little over 90 days. So I just want to say that now so I don't freak any of you out when I say we may be working 15 days more than 90. But that's kind of where I see us at now. Superintendent Joseph, do you have anything before I see if Co-Chair Goins McGants have anything before we close out tonight?
No, no. I just want to thank everybody for their participation. And I'll say, Dr. Collins and I were at the University of Maryland today with Dr. Thornton, and the University of Maryland had a conversation, just about funding in Maryland and some of the challenges that we have here, and it's just a complex phenomena, and it's going to take really collective community education, understanding, and then trying to build a coalition of the willing who really understand the issues to come to consensus to help us execute and push on some of these challenges that have been generational here. So I look forward to learning with the group and us figuring out how strategically we move forward and sequence our steps to get us further down the field.
Gotcha. Co-Chair Goins McCants, do you have any comments on the way out?
I do not have anything other than thank you all so much for bearing with us. And thank you to our MVP, Micah, for helping us navigate all the technical difficulties today.
Just want to remember, over the next week, you'll probably hear from your leads and facilitators around what that first long subcommittee time is going to look like, since the next meeting looks to be all subcommittee time, unless Dr. Kendrick and Dr. Bowers have some different thoughts when we reconvene on Friday. But for now, we're really planning for that next bit of time to be all subcommittee time so you can really get into your work and have fun. So thank you for your time tonight. Dr. Bowers, Dr. Kendrick, do you all have anything?
Nope, just looking forward to working with the subcommittees.
Got you. Amy, what you got?
Sorry, again, a
No,
logistic
I
thing
always
again.
ask your questions. You're good.
I have on my calendar that our next meeting is the 27th. Is that right? So we're still keeping that schedule?
Yeah, we're still on that schedule. Yep.
Okay.
I wouldn't dare try to change these people's schedule here. It might get things thrown at me. So we're going to stay on the schedule as much as possible.
And it does look like we're scheduled for the Memorial Day, the 25th of May.
Micah, didn't we fix that? Or we were supposed to fix it if we didn't. But you're going longer than 90 days. So we'll make sure we get it fixed if we didn't fix it. Okay. And just so you know, Megan Thornton, who's on here, is sending out recaps of what we do to the school district at large now. I don't know if you read Dollars and Cents last week, but our work is being recapped in Dollars and Cents now. So just want to flag that for you. All right.
Yes,
Well,
I think that is what Dr. Jones might have been referring to, and so I've already made that update. But you can find those in addition to being emailed out. Those are available on the pgcps.org blog, which you can access from the homepage.
Okay.
Additionally, they're in the Dollars and Decisions finance portal.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all have a good night. It is 8:41, and I'm gonna let you all go. Thank
Good
y'all.
night.